how to effectively work on the business and dominate 2025. This one I've been fucking buzzing to shoot, guys. Honestly, the amount of questions I've had about this, the amount of voice notes I've sent, it was like long overdue that I created a resource on this. And through creating it, I actually learned a shit ton of stuff in regards to how I really do effectively work on the business. Because I think that's a big thing. So when people come to me and they're like, how do you work on a business effectively? And I'm like, I just sit down and I know exactly what needs to be worked on and I just get to work on it. It doesn't really solve the knowledge gap that people are looking for when it comes to working on the business. So, thought I'd put together this training. I'm going to be covering 4 areas today. I'll rapid fire through some components and I'll give more context to others, but if there is any questions that come up, please feel free to do so. I'll be covering why working on your business is the key to 2025 domination. I'm going to be giving away the epiphany moment that changed the whole perspective for me on working on the business. I'm also going to be going through the 3 layers to working on the business and potentially the part that you guys are missing. I'm also going to run through how to make working on the business as easy as humanly possible. And then lastly, the exact step-by-step list to industry domination. There is 2 different step-by-step lists depending on where you're at. There's going to be most likely 2 points of the journey that you guys are potentially going to be on. And if you guys have any questions when it comes to the step-by-step list to industry domination, please do let me know. Drop me a little message on WhatsApp. So let's get into it. Now, when it comes to working on the business, I've been asked every question under the sun, which meant obviously I had to shoot this training on it. That was the bottom line. Now, these are some of the questions I've been asked. What qualifies as working on the business time? Why is it so important? How much time should I be dedicating to it? Followed by every excuse under the sun to why it can't happen and why you've got other shit to do. So the bottom line is, this comes down to 3 different reasons to why people struggle with it. Number 1 is that people don't know how important it is. Number 2, people don't know the rule book to follow when it comes to working on the business. And it is easier to just do work in the business. That's the safe zone. Do you know what I mean? If you're like Ryan Park, had this conversation with Ryan, runs Boots and Pieces, huge fucking brand, biggest customization company for football boots in the full world. I nearly said the UK like 3 times there, by the way, but it's literally in the full world. It's fucking huge. 150k plus followers on Instagram. And I had the same conversation with him where it's like, Ryan's safe zone is going and doing a stud conversion or a blackout service on a pair of boots. That's his safe zone. That's because he just knows how to do it, and it's so easy for him to literally just go, do it, and then that's it. And it's like, if I put in, he does a stud conversion now in like 15 to 20 minutes. If I put in an hour's work, I'm going to get between 3 and 4 pairs of boots done. That is so easy to just go away and do. Do you know what I mean? It's super, super fucking easy. So it's one of those where people struggle with it a lot of the times due to these 3 reasons, but there's usually other things that come into play in regards to just either it's other things that picked up from other people and other mentors, or it's just genuinely just they're just full of excuses, which I know a lot of you guys will naturally relate to because I was there too. Alright, so let's tackle the first one. People don't understand the importance of it. So let's stack the deck. I'm going to tell you a little story on this. There's going to be a lot of words that are going to pop up on the screen here, by the way. So just try your hardest not to just go and try and read all of it and just listen to me. It was just kind of bugging on camera when I was trying to get it to rock and roll the way I wanted it to. Now, every single coach / mentor I've ever had has drilled me on working on the business. I didn't listen to the first one because I was too busy at the time to think about it. But the big turning point was when I went through Alex Becker's Iron Program, and this was what he said. If you spend at least 3 hours working on the business per day, you will dominate 99% of your competition, because 95% of them don't work on the business at all, and the other 4% do it every now and again. Commit to a number of hours weekly and watch what happens with your time. He then proceeded to say that he works on the business from 4 a.m. until 2 p.m, takes meetings for 3 hours, and then finishes up and that's him done. 2 years after this course, when he stopped selling it, he exited Hyros, sold his majority stake for $110 million. So in terms of getting advice from other mentors and coaches, a lot of this time it didn't really land because I didn't know how much weight it really held. And when I literally heard him, plus another mentor that I had at the time that sold a SEO marketing agency for a couple of £1 million at 21 years old, as soon as I heard it from him and then heard it from Becker, I was like, holy fucking shit. This really is the serious sauce that I need to start creating time for, that's going to allow for me to scale to the level that I want to. So at this point, you should be sold. You should be like, John, take my fucking money. You've already paid for why else, so that doesn't make sense. But regardless, you should be fucking sold on the concept of working on the business. Alright? You fucking should be. And as a final note on this, why this resonated with me so hard when it came to Becker was that Alex Becker, is a modern day entrepreneur. He was building and selling a SaaS business at the time, while also doing courses and coaching, while also running e-com sites, while also crushing it in crypto, while also creating killer content. Like, he was doing it fucking all. He's a modern day entrepreneur. And this man has grown up in our era and knows how to play the game, which to me just further qualified the relevancy of his advice. That was just the bottom line. So it's super important, guys, that you understand that there's a lot of advice out there, and a lot of times it's your job to distill down what's valuable and what's not. And a lot of that time will come down to whether or not you believe the individual that's giving you the advice is actually relevant to give you advice. For example, like, I always speak about the importance of us, like, you know, we're hitting record months, we're doing 30 grand months and stuff like that now. But the most important thing is that, like, our advice stays hyper relevant. Why? Because we're learning from Phil Graham, who's doing between 600 to a mil a month, while also us doing multiple 5-figure months that is very close to the surface of, like, young entrepreneurs getting close to their first 5-figure month. And as a result, everything we're teaching is literally hyper relevant to what helped us get to this level recently in the last couple of years. But then also, we're getting taught by, like, the top dog in our industry that from a coaching perspective and from an innovation perspective is fucking insane. Like, this guy literally has full research and development teams on constantly innovating and improving his service. Like, all the fucking time. I'm speaking about Phil Graham just now, by the way. Becker was also the same. Like, the amount of time spent working on the business and R&D is fucking... So, anyways, you should be sold by this point on the importance of it. If you have any more questions about this, please let me know. If you're someone that's maybe followed Alex Becker and you think he's a bit of a prick, I do hear that. That might make you want to not take his advice. But if it makes you 110 million quid, then you should surely fucking tighten up and just take it on board. Alright? Now, you might be thinking, I don't understand why I should do it, John. You know, I kind of get it. And I do. I understand it. But what actually is working on the business? So I'm going to start this with an incredible quote before going into my very favourite shape, which is a diamond/triangle. Not a diamond, sorry. I'm so used to the double diamond, honestly. Before I go into this triangle/pyramid was what I was meant to say. But yeah, I'm going to start with this incredible quote, which you're going to hear and you're going to think, John, how the fuck is this relevant? But I promise you, it'll make sense. Thinking is the hardest thing there is to do, which is probably the reason why so few engage in it. Now you're probably like, John, why the fuck are you hitting me with some stoic quote? You're not Conor Malone, don't think that you are. You're not in the pursuit of constant improvement. But honestly, it's going to land in just a wee second. So, this is this awesome pyramid/triangle I was touching on. The reason I'm sharing this quote with you is because working on the business has 3 layers. Just like onions has multiple layers, working on the business also has 3 layers. You've got layer 1, 2, and 3. In layer 1, you've got the thinking/discussion of what needs worked on/improved. Alright? Now, a lot of people I put thinking/discussion because if you've not got a team, obviously you've got YNL, so regardless if you've got a team or not, you should be discussing it with other people. But a lot of times, like for me in the very beginning, I would just sit and think on things. I'd have a notepad and pen. If anyone's watched the How to Utilise Time Off leading into 2025, a notepad and pen was one of the key components of making sure that you've got something handy, because your subconscious will just pop ideas into play left, right and centre. Layer 2 is thinking/discussion how to actually improve the area itself. So like, you identify what needs worked on, i.e. layer 1. You then identify how to actually improve it by creating like a to-do list, creating things to do, creating ideas. And then number 3 is actually doing it, actually working on the business. Now, where people make a lot of the mistakes is that they start here. They start on layer 3. They start on doing it. They just sit down, like when I was chatting to Ryan, he was like, mate, I'll sit down and I'll go, what do I need to work on? You should be sitting down with your working on the business to-do list, knowing exactly what the fuck you need to work on. Not sitting down and going, what should I work on? You know, and I've fucking been there, man. Like, I have been there where I sit down and I go, oh, fuck, man. You know, I've only got an hour scheduled in my calendar. I've sat here for 10 minutes thinking about what I'm working on. And it's just so easy for me to just pick up my phone and just reply to a bunch of clients and touch base with X and Y and do all these other things. And for Ryan, for example, it's so easy for me to just pick up some books. I've sat here for 10 minutes. I could be halfway through a book conversion right now. I've been there, man. I fucking been not doing boots specifically. I would rinse the boots that Ryan has. He's got some huge partnerships. I don't want to get involved with that. Ruining fucking Under Armour's boots and Puma boots, that would not be good. Anyways, so many people start at layer 3 when in reality they don't realise they're missing the first 2 layers. Alright, it's important, guys, that you should really understand this. I'll summarise this in a bit more detail in just a wee sec, but the bottom line is you need to realise that the first 2 layers is what makes working on the business super fucking easy. If you've thought about what needs worked on/improved and you've got a list of how to actually improve it, then all you need to do is sit there and action the list. That becomes so fucking easy. Alright. Now, when push comes to shove, People sit down to work on the business without doing the first 2 layers, which ends up leaving them with nothing. I've kind of ran through this already, but the bottom line is they end up leaving that feeling with nothing but guilt for taking up the time to sit and think, and then at that point they mistake thinking for procrastinating. They worry they aren't getting enough done, and then they just go back to working in the business because that's all they know. And then at that point is when they say working on a business is pointless, and they get stuck with a job rather than a business because they're stuck working in it 24/7. This is the harsh reality, by the way, guys. Like, if you just want a job like that makes a cushy $5,000 a month as a business, and you pay yourself pretty fucking well, but you work 40 plus hours a week, for some of you it'll be way more than that, then just do what you're currently doing. Just work in the business, and if you're cushy with that, you're cushy with that. But if you want a genuine business that can operate without you, the magic in making that happen is going to come when you're working on the business. Do you think I came up with the idea of bringing on Andy as a co-owner and operating as an integrator while working in the business, coaching clients all the time? Absolutely not. Do you think I made the decision to then hire Jack, Reese, take on investment from Lawrence as an advisor, etc.? Do you think I made any of that shit happen working in the business? Absolutely fucking not. Do you think I made the decision to invest 15 grand in Phil Graham to then pay him 2.5 grand a month and pay him 30 grand over the course of fucking 6 months while working in the business? Probably not. Alright, so it's important, guys, to understand that the true magic of scaling comes when you're not stuck in the business, and instead you're working on the business. So it's important to keep that front of mind. So to summarise our strips, I need to move my fucking head out of the way because I keep getting in the way. We'll make myself a wee bit smaller, actually. Less high def. So to summarise this, layer 1, layer 2, layer 3. Layer 1 is thinking / discussion what needs improved / worked on. Layer 2 is thinking / discussion how to actually improve the area. And then number 3 is actually doing it. We start here and we work our way up. Alright. Now, you might be thinking, okay, John, I get it now, but how do I actually do it? Like, how do I do what you're saying to do? I know you're saying it's simple here. You're saying it's simple. You're saying it's simple in terms of, I've just pulled that up when I should have pulled it up just yet. You're saying it's simple because you're touching on the fact that, like, okay, I need to think on it, and then off the back of thinking on it, I'll identify, and off the back of identifying, I'll then also write down a to-do list of what to do, and then I'll actually get to doing it. But the interesting thing is, right, if you said to me, John, sit down and work on a high leverage task right now for 3 hours, boom, clock starts now, I would know exactly what to work on because of 5 key things. And the 5 key areas that allow for me to always know what to work on is pretty damn simple. It's a lot of shit that I've taught you guys already. I know the goal for 2025. I know the 3 core objectives. I know the 5 key projects per objective to work on. Every single week we have a meeting called the 10 out of 10 meeting. We're part of that meeting. It's called PDS, which is Problem Discussion Solution. And I have a scorecard that I look at every week for numbers and metrics. Now, you might look at that and think, John, you know, I don't have all those things and I don't have a team to have a meeting with. Well, before I get to this list of things that are going to allow for you to do this and actually move forward, this is obviously something that I've ran through in many different trainings. This is called the 1-3-5 method that Lawrence teaches. This is your 1 year snippet. This is your 3 core objectives, and this is your 5 projects per objective. This allows you to get very fucking clear on what needs to be worked on and push forward with. You throw in a weekly meeting with yourself or with, fuck me, ask one of the guys in YNL. I trust that you guys have went out there and built some proper relationships with each other. So say to each other, why don't we have a 10 meeting together where you go through your business, I go through my business, I'll talk through how the week's been, I'll overview it, I'll run through what's went well, what's not went well. I'll do a preview of the future week, I'll do a review of the last week, and we discuss everything around the business, and we spend half an hour each on each of our businesses, and that basically equates to an hour. Because it's not the premise of, like, there's huge benefits team-wise for me and all the boys and Alison to be hop on and run through this shit and get clear on the problems that need to be discussed and solved. But the bottom line is, it's the art of actually basically standing still once a week, looking back, looking forward, and making sure that we're going in the right fucking direction. A lot of you guys, when you don't have a team, use that as a cop-out to not have these types of meetings, and as a result, you end up mindlessly fucking blinking throughout the year, and all of a sudden you're at a completely different fucking direction, or at a completely different location from where you thought you would be at the end of the year. This is why. The scorecard as well, I'm going to do a separate training on the scorecard. The scorecard literally has all of our metrics. We learned it through a book called Traction. Andy built it for us. We're now 2 months into use it. I wanted to use it for a full quarter first before I shot a training on it, because I don't want you guys that I'm just thinking that I'm like learning stuff and then 2 weeks later fucking shooting a training on it and just giving you it when I've not trialed and tested it myself. Scorecard has been fucking game changing though, so I'll definitely be shooting a training on that in January. It's important, troops, to understand that when you're looking at these things, don't have the kind of cop out answer of like, I don't have a team to have a meeting with, or I don't have all these things. it's basically a fucking sign that this is the list of things that you need to be working through. Alright? So please, I'm going to put a pretty big list here of things to do. For the love of God, let me put myself fucking big in full screen here. For the love of God, do not get overwhelmed by this. It's okay if you've not done any of this stuff. It's just important that, well, the funny thing is you've probably not done most of this stuff because you've not got time to work on the business. So hopefully this will further reinforce the importance of working on the business so you can do stuff like this. Because you're looking at, I know a lot of you guys probably have seen like Connor Josh recently, for example, flying crazy hours, making good fucking dough, crushing it in crypto. All of that is happening, semi-retiring his mum, because he's fucking clear on what he wants in life. He's clear on the 1 year goal. He's clear on the core objectives that he needs to work towards. He's clear on the projects that need nailed. He knows exactly what to work on every fucking minute of every day. So it's important, guys, to understand that if you just get stuck in the weeds and you just let time pass by, you'll blink, and before you know it, another year will be gone, and you'll not be closer to the goals you actually want to achieve. Alright? Had to get harsh there for a little second, but it's the reality. If you think I'm a bit of a prick as a result of that, as long as you hit your goal, I don't care. If you think John's a fucking prick and I don't really have any time with him, but then you go and hit your goal off the back of it, I could not care less if you don't like me. There's shit here that's going to help you scale your business. It's your job to go and implement it. And I don't care if you don't like me as a result of it. Alright? So don't let this overwhelm you. I'm going to run through this list step by step. So you need the vision. You're also going to get a proper to-do list at the end, by the way, so don't worry about scribbling this all down. You will have a proper to-do list at the end, depending on what stage. You need the vision. You need the goal. You need the 3 core objectives. You need the 5 projects per objective. You need time once a week to review the past week and identify bottlenecks. I think a big component for a lot of you guys is that you don't have anyone. I think that's a big reason why a lot of you guys join YNL in the first place. But it's important that you understand that this wouldn't only benefit you, it would also benefit the other individual as well. You need somewhere to track how the business is doing, and you need to start allocating time into your calendar to do it. When I say track, I mean like numbers wise, like revenue, cash collected on new deals, monthly recurring revenue if you want to track that as well, followed by like how many sales calls you guys have in a week, how many leads are coming through a week, etc. Like tracking those things, because these are all things that are going to directly indicate whether or not you're going to be growing or not. They're KPIs, so it's important that these things are in place. And obviously I'll do a kind of training on the scorecard. I think that'll be killer, but the bottom line is you need to start allocating this into your calendar as well. I've kind of banged that drum a good few times the last few weeks. I know G Grupma will be incredibly proud of me for hammering that because he's done an awesome training on utilising your calendar. It's super important, guys. It's super important. Alright. And if you're looking at that list thinking this is a lot of work to just sit down and work on things, it's not the art of sitting down to work on the business. It's the art of sitting down to work on the right areas of the business that actually need it. This is what it takes to scale troops, and this is how people do crazy numbers while individuals are stuck below 10k per month with a glorified job. And that's the brutal, harsh truth of it. Like, this is what it takes. It takes getting clear on the vision, it takes getting clear on the goals, it takes getting clear on the objectives, and it takes getting clear on the allocated time that you're going to spend, not only working on the business, but also reviewing and previewing the weeks before and the week ahead, to make sure that you're still rolling in the right direction. You don't want to keep blinking and a year passes you by or a few months pass you by and you're no closer to where you want to be. And this was actually something, the quote of this is how people do crazy numbers while you're stuck below 10k per month with a glorified job is actually something that Gary Wilson said when he was on my podcast, and I remember being offended by it. I had him on the podcast nearly 2 years ago, I think now. I remember being offended by it because it was fucking true. So if you're feeling offended by it, once again, I don't care if you don't like me. The bottom line is, I want you to scale your fucking business and grow. I want you to get a killer return on investment. And I want some more fucking success stories of incredible young entrepreneurs fucking crushing it. Alright? So, you probably fall into 2 categories. So, I've created 2 action lists for you. Alright? Category number 1. For those that haven't done any of the list yet, that's completely okay, by the way. I would suggest starting with this masterclass and guide/workbook, which will basically nail the first 4 things on the list for you, which I'll run through in just a wee sec. This masterclass on unlocking your future vision so you can achieve anything you want, followed by this momentum method guide, followed by the workbook. Honestly, troops, this shit, like if it was bundled into like a mini course, would be worth thousands. There's plenty of people that would pay thousands an hour to have fucking Lawrence's time to nail this shit. So really value it, really utilise it, really implement it. For those that have got the vision, goal, objectives and projects, you have a different to-do list. You just need to start allocating time to track, identify and work on these things in regards to the vision, goal, objectives and projects. If this is you and you're clear on the vision, goals, objectives and projects, pull up your calendar and slot in these 4 things for me. Once a week, a review and preview. Review the previous week, preview the new week, run through what went well, what didn't go so well, and get clear on what's going to be happening moving forward in regards to improvements. Time to sit down and work on what key metrics need tracked if you've not got those already. Not only do I want you to slot in time to work on what the key metrics need to be tracked, but I also want you to slot in time every week to fill in the key metrics. And then lastly, I want you to start allocating a dedicated time every single week to working on the business. Now, for me, I started with, I think it was literally 3 hours a week. It was pretty small. I would advise starting with a bit more, and I would advise probably doing some sort of time block. Now, if you've heard me say that and you've said, John, fuck off, I've not got enough time yet. Not got enough time just now to do more. And I might suggest re-watching this video to hope it lands a bit better the second time. But honestly, troops, if you're kind of at this position where you're like, I'm not sure how much time to commit, honestly look at your calendar and maybe think about maybe dedicating like a morning. Start with a morning. I would definitely advise, like, if you want to start with 3 hours, do not do 3 hours split across like 3 different days, like an hour each. You want to give your time to get in a flow state, give your time to get locked in, all that sort of jazz. So it's important that you put a proper time block in place. Now, obviously, I was already kind of dedicating 3 hours a week, bit more sometimes. And then when I went through Alex Becker's program, I was like, okay, how do I make time to do 3 hours? And for me, I created that kind of like morning routine of getting up and at it about between 6 and 6:30 before my 9 a.m. meeting. That was my commitment. And since then, that habit stuck for over 2.5 years, close to 3 years now. So it's important that you just lock it in, whatever you can commit to just now, but make sure that you review it in a couple of weeks' time, or even a couple of months' time, if you want to give it a bit more time, if you're only doing like a few hours here and there. But honestly, troops, make sure you get super clear on it in regards to how much time you're going to dedicate and when you're going to review it, so you can potentially change it in the future. One of my biggest regrets is not investing more working on the business time. Early doors, I said that at one of our in-person events. I think it might have been the first event in 2024 this year. My biggest regret was not investing more time into working on the business to start with, because it would have fast-tracked everything that I've achieved. Alright guys, so the bottom line is, troops, this list that I ran through here, if you've looked at that and you've got none of these things, the masterclass from Lawrence and the guide and workbook, i.e. this, will help you tick off the first 4 things on the list. Boom, 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 boom. We'll get done and dusted. Once these things are dusted, you then need to slot in some proper time once a week to review the past week and identify bottlenecks, and then preview the future week. You need somewhere to track how the business is actually doing in terms of numbers, etc., key metrics, and you need to start allocating time in your calendar to do it. Alright? If you are someone that is already clear on the vision and already clear on these things, then your to-do list is pretty simple. I've already ran through it, but you can take one last screenshot of it if you want it right now. And if you have any questions on this, please do not hesitate to message me. Alright guys, have an awesome day whenever you're watching this, and let's fucking crush it in 2025.